Hi, welcome to a little experiment that I have decided to do today. I've always been a big fan of Kraft macaroni and cheese, one of my favorite things on earth. I ate it a lot all my life, and especially during college and post-college or whenever I want one of my favorite comfort foods. I make this with some Texas Pete hot sauce in it and some canned tuna. It makes for a great snack or a dinner. But I became aware that there was also a Canadian product called Kraft Dinner. And I always wondered if they were the same thing and if they tasted the same. So, thanks to the generosity of Bill W. in Vancouver, British Columbia, I've gotten several boxes of Kraft Dinner to try, and I wanted to compare them side by side. So, about to do that, I've got some Kraft Dinner here, indicated by the red, so I can tell them apart, and the American kind. First off, they are not quite the same. The American one, the macaroni is a little bit rounder, or excuse me, more curved. The Canadian one is kind of more flatter macaroni. So I don't know if that makes much difference. And when you notice on the box, the American ingredients are quite a bit more detailed. And the Canadian one, other than, they're also in French, is quite a bit simpler. There doesn't seem to be as many chemicals in the Canadian version as there are in the American version, although I don't know if that has something to do with, say, like American labeling standards, and, there's things in here that they don't have to, reveal. I don't know if there's any difference in that or not. Also, the Canadian version has somewhat fewer calories. It's prepared with less butter and milk, and but when you do compare the servings and how many calories are in it, the Canadian one has less, but the Canadian serving size is somewhat less. It's about 15 grams less. The American size is 70 grams, and the Canadian serving size is 56 grams. So the Canadians eat a little bit less than we do, obviously. Another caveat I'm going to go with, when I made the Canadian one, I did it with the extra creamy version. That adds a little bit more butter, so that would up the calorie count. And I just figured it'd probably be more comparable to the American version. So we're going to give them a try here now and see if there's any detectable difference. Like I say, there's a little bit of difference in the macaroni product in the American one. But as always, that's wonderful and comforting, and just, I love this stuff. I could eat it all the time, including for breakfast. No problem. All right. Now we're going to try the Canadian one. Like I say, it looks a little bit different, but pretty much the same. The color, interestingly enough, there's more color to the Canadian product. Let's try the Canadian one. A little bit different texture. The macaroni's not quite as thick. It's more tender macaroni. I would say it has a gentler flavor. That would be the word I would say. It's got a gentler kind of flavor. The American one, I guess, being as we are Americans, we want everything bold. The American one has more taste. More taste. A little saltier. And I'm going to reveal something else here. Whenever I make this, I usually add a little bit of dry mustard to my prepared dinner. And I've always thought that brings out a little bit of extra cheddar taste. So I'm actually going to try that with both of these. I think the Canadian one needs it more so than the American one does. And let's try that. Dry mustard and cheddar cheese go very well together in a sauce. And that definitely brings up the flavor of the Canadian one better. And the American one, it just makes it the cheddar a little more intense. I'd have to say the Canadian one needs a little bit of dry mustard to it, and it improves it quite a bit. So, I would say, I hate to say it, Canadian friends, I do appreciate the Kraft Dinner. In my opinion, the American version is perhaps a little tastier. Like I say, a little more bold of flavor than the more gentler, kinder Canadian version. So there you go. That's my take on the Kraft Macaroni and Cheese versus Kraft Dinner, or KD for short, to Canadian friends. It was very good. Thank you, Bill. I finally got to try these and see what they were like. Thanks.